Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to Out of the Box TV. If this is your first time listening, basically what I do here is interview a lot of young entrepreneurs who are doing some interesting things. You probably already know that because I've put out 50 episodes or so now, so there's quite a lot of these out there. But again, today we've got another interesting and successful entrepreneur on the podcast. His name is Rob Dunfey, and he is the founder of GoSkate and is a serial entrepreneur, and he currently runs the largest skateboarding school in the US and also expanded to the UK and just recently Australia as well. So, Rob, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, no problem at all. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit about like your entrepreneurial background and kind of where you came from and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, first off, I'm a college dropout. I dropped out of school, and then I started a cleaning business. And then I started GoSkate.com business, which was nationwide skateboard lessons. We've taken that business model and we've duplicated it. So we now have different types of lessons that we offer all throughout the United States. We have several businesses right now.
Okay, interesting. It's interesting you said you're a college dropout as well. What was the thinking behind that? Did you?
Yeah, it just was like, it didn't really seem like it was worth it, I actually only had one more year left too. I had 3 years in, and it's just like, it's another 36,000, another year of my time. Like, I just want to get started as soon as possible.
Yeah. Did you have a business idea in your mind as soon as you kind of dropped out?
I had a lot of business ideas, yeah. Actually, one of them was what I turned into my first business, but it was completely different. I had the same name, same website and domain, except it had a different idea for it. So it doesn't always, your business ideas don't always turn out the way you dream them to be.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about your business GoSkate and how it's kind of become successful? Like when you were setting the company up, what was it like? Because you're a college student, a college dropout. Were you running quite lean? Were you working on a low budget?
Yeah, I was actually living at my parents' house. I moved back in, and I was very low budget. Yeah. I put everything on credit cards, sold all my textbooks, actually sold my car for a bit. Wow. So I was pretty antisocial for a time, where not have a car. I literally bike around town and sold pretty much everything of value I had to start a business. So I mean, I was working with like less than $15,000 to get my first business started.
Wow. So like whereabouts were those kind of? How did you split the 15,000 up into kind of certain areas of your business?
I put a lot of into marketing and like image and logo and the website, which I kind of regret now. Like I put so much of my time into kind of the fluff around it that doesn't really matter. Yeah. And it should have really put more time and focus into like the business structure and strategy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And a friend of mine also said you've got a funny story about building your website. And what's that? What was going on with your website?
Yeah. At that time when I was building, I didn't have really any money at all. So I actually didn't build my website. I actually stole the template from a template place. And you know how they have the free previews of the templates? Yeah. I just copied the code from there and saved each image one by one, and then changed the code so that the images came from my server rather than theirs, so I wouldn't get caught. Actually, still have some of those up to date. We're in the process of changing them over now.
That's a true entrepreneur right there, just like bootstrapping it and stealing code.
Yeah, it's not something I'm really proud of, but I had to do.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So when you got this set up, how did you kind of go about getting all the lessons online and kind of getting instructors and stuff? How much time did that kind of take?
Well, since it was my second business, I learned from my first one where I was working like 120 hours a week, like literally every day, 7 days a week, that for this next one going forward, I wasn't going to kill myself. Mm-hmm. So I outsourced just really everything from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Sales, marketing, recruiting. So I literally just outsourced most of that stuff to the Philippines when I first got started.
Okay, and is that the kind of business model you kind of duplicated, and you've done that since to make other successful businesses?
Yeah, it's pretty much, I've just duplicated everything that's worked there. As I've got more successful, I've been able to take some of my people that were in the Philippines and put those jobs in the United States. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the structure and setup is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Do you recommend kind of outsourcing to a lot of people just to kind of cut some of those time-consuming tasks so you can focus on the real stuff that's going to help move your business forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's crazy well, it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be an owner operator, then, it's not, maybe it's better for you to get into it yourself. But if you're the person that can delegate and want to really just grow it to as big as you possibly can and make the largest possible impact, I think there's no other way than to absolutely outsource everything that comes your way, every task, and then really just focus on the bigger picture, focus on growing the business, focus on strategic planning, the plans and policies, and the things that really keep the business going rather than the everyday, day-to-day nonsense that comes up.
Definitely. And it's a lot easier nowadays, isn't it? Because you can, like you say, you can outsource like the Philippines and stuff for like cheap pricing. So there's no excuse anymore,
There isn't. No, there's no excuse whatsoever. When you can get a full-time worker for $500 a month, it's crazy to try and do all that work yourself.
Yeah. And so when you dropped out of college to start your business, did you have any kind of connections at all in the business world, or were you just kind of like a lone ranger, just working away and coming up with your own ideas and putting it all into practice?
No, I was definitely a lone ranger, and I came from kind of a remote town too, so there wasn't a whole lot of business or so much entrepreneurs around that I could connect with. Yeah. My family had done business, but I was kind of hesitant to go to them for help for most of it because they were still kind of weirded out that I dropped out of college, and so I really just tried to prove to them that I could do it myself, without having to go to.
Okay. So you said you had parents who like had businesses themselves. Did you have kind of like a entrepreneurial upbringing then at all, or did that mindset kind of?
A little, yeah. A little bit. My family's always been in and out of the business world and dealing with different entrepreneurial activities and stuff like that.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to ask you was, obviously entrepreneurs have their up and downs throughout their career. What was kind of one of the biggest struggles you faced, do you think, and how did you get past it?
Well, I think the biggest struggle going forward is like not having enough money to keep your business in operation, and that was always a really big challenge for me. Meeting payroll, especially when you have a lot of people on your staff. So it was very stressful at times to telling my workers that I didn't have enough money to pay them, or that I'd get them to the next week. And having to either borrow from a family member or, seek an outside, a private business to upfront me some money so I could get going. And I think that's one of the most stressful things as someone who's just getting started can possibly face, is just not having enough money to pay your people. And they just really have to have a good, strong connection with you for you to be able to keep them and go forward.
Okay, so that you kind of pushed past that because you had that strong connection with those people and they kind of understood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, one of my workers went almost a month without getting paid.
Wow.
He's still actually with me today. He says basically the business is his life. So those are the type of people that you really need to recruit and just do whatever you can to keep them part of your team.
Definitely. Okay, so we talked about some of the tough times there. What about successful stuff? What good things kind of happened to you throughout your businesses?
Yeah, well, there's certainly several of them. One of the highlights is when we got asked to join a partnership for the largest gift card box in the United States. And that basically put our gift cards for our lessons inside Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS, and I think BJ stores nationwide.
Nice.
So, that was a huge milestone for us, and it was really more exciting for us when we first signed the deal because we thought it was going to be so great. We're going to make all this money from it, and we'd actually literally be able to revolve our business almost entirely around it. It ended up not being, not living up to the hype, and really not producing us a substantial amount of our revenue. But it still was a huge milestone to say that we are now associated with some of the largest retailers in the United States, and it was good pinpoint that we could use for marketing and association.
Definitely, yeah, that's a cool milestone. So what sort of plans do you kind of have for yourself in the future with businesses you're working on? What do you see yourself doing?
I see myself just continuing to do what I'm doing right now, looking for new strategies, new markets to get into, using the same system and just duplicating the system that I have that's currently working, and using the workers that I currently have to grow it really. And then I'm just focusing on the larger picture at this time.
Definitely. And just one last question before we go. What would your advice be to kind of young entrepreneurs out there, do you think? What's your one top piece of advice?
Yeah, I'd say there's probably two tops. First, just go out there and don't just stick with one idea. Your one idea, if you put all of your money and all of your time and research into it, it could end up failing. So I would say pick a few ideas and kind of throw a few things at the wall and see what sticks.
Okay. And
don't put all of your money into just one idea, because then you won't have anything left over in case that one idea fails.
Yeah, I think that's some solid advice there. Just kind of, spread your chances, just go after a few things and focus on them.
Definitely. Yep.
Okay, so thanks for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate it. If people want to connect with you, are you on Facebook, Twitter, and you got a website as well?
Yeah, I've got a website, robdunfey.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay, cool. And I'll put all those links in the description for everyone to see and connect with Rob. And thanks again for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.